Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am here with kind of a fun video if you are ready for me to be negative and rant about books that I hated, because this is my worst books of 2024. Getting this up a little late to you guys. I'm so sorry for all the delays on these 2024 wrap-ups. But I wanted to get this up to you. Basically, we're going to go over all the books that I really hated. All these books are going to be something that's below the 3-star. So usually it's just going to be my 2.5 or like 2 or lower, DNF, whatever. These are the books that I'm going to discuss. This is kind of like my negative video. So if you are here for it, I actually really love watching these of some booktubers, so I definitely get it. So get ready for me to maybe rant, maybe bitch, who knows. But let's get started with my worst books from 2024. Okay guys, so let's get to this rant. First we're going to start off with my DNFs. Honestly, like I need to be better about actually DNFing books if I don't like it. I think I'm going to be a little tougher this next year because I really only had 2 DNFs, and one of them I'm not even going to go over because this was a new author that reached out to me and asked me to read their book, and I felt really bad, but like I just really didn't vibe with that book and I couldn't finish it. So I'm not going to rant about the author because they're a new author that's trying to get their footing and get out there. I'm not even really going to bring that up because anyways. But the one DNF that I had, that was like my big DNF, and I don't DNF, so that should just tell you how much I didn't really like this, was The Company of Fiends. This series, like the first book, I thought was just so much smut. It was just over the top erotica, like monster smut, and I was really bored. I think it's way longer than it needs to be. I thought I'll give the second book a chance because I thought the whole idea of it being like that monster theater type of thing was really interesting, and literally it's just page after page after page of like meaningless sex because it's like literally her job and she's just fucking different monsters, and I wanted to blow my brains out. Like it was so fucking boring. There's some kind of like murder mystery going on that I could give like 2 shits about, and I was reading this I think during like the readathon for it was Maggie's readathon. Oh yeah, because this was reverse harem, you know, white shoes. So this was going to give me more points in the Phantom Readathon. And I just couldn't do it. I was basically like, I would get good points because it's gothic and white shoes, but I just couldn't do it. So I DNF'd it, and I'm really not going to pick up that series again. I've basically written it off. Like, it's not for me. I need some romantic element in my monster smut, and not just sex and banging page after page. That's one of my biggest complaints about spicy books is like there's really no character growth, development, no connection. It's just fucking. So like I get very irritated with it. So that was my one real DNF of the year. So to go on, these are going to be my books with 2.5 stars. So I am going to be a little bit harsher this upcoming year because I think I've been really nice where if I didn't like a book, I was giving it like 3 stars because I don't really like to totally trash an author on Goodreads and go after them. But like, I'm not going to be as nice. I'm going to rate it how I feel like it needs to be rated. If I freaking didn't like it, I'm not going to stop myself from giving 1 stars or 2 stars. Previously, there's a couple Cora Riley books that I gave like 2.5 stars. It should be a 1 star. So I'm almost like tempted to go back and change my review of those because I'm like, it's just not, I was being nice because I liked Cora Riley's other books. And so anyways, all that to say, these are like really what my lowest books was because it's 2.5 and 2 stars, I believe. That's all I have on here. It might be a 1 star too. We'll see. But to start this off, I feel bad doing this, but it was actually one of our buddy reads, and I think I was might have been the only one that fucking hated this book. And that was The Summer You Found Me by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I hadn't read any of the books in this series, but the heroine in this book infuriated me. She was a complete psycho bitch, and she was so underhanded, manipulative, like a user, that there was zero chance that I would ever get behind this character. I actually bought the audiobook for this, and I was pissed about the audiobook because I almost DNF'd the audiobook, and usually I can get through an audiobook, but this heroine fucking pissed me off. So, like, in this, she was like, I think her and her husband kind of split up. Things went bad. I think she had issues getting pregnant, if I'm remembering correctly. It's a long time ago, so I'm not sure. This was literally December 2024, so it's one of the first books of the year. Or at the end of the year. Wait. That doesn't make sense. Okay, wait, sorry. I was looking at my review and I never posted it till later on. So, sorry, I was getting confused. I read this in February, so it was more towards the beginning of the year. So, I don't have the full gist of remembering everything that went on, but basically she had like gotten addicted to drugs and was in a bad place, and she had to go to like rehab and stuff. And her ex-husband was the previous book, and he's in love and is with that heroine. And this chick wants him back and is like living with his best friend, and it's going to be their romance. But yet throughout this entire book, she is trying to ruin that heroine's life. She's trying to set her up. Let me look at my review real quick because... Oh, yeah. So I don't think I fully went into it, but I basically said she's ruthless and did some extremely horrible and criminal things to an innocent woman. She never felt bad about what she did and never took responsibility for her actions. I understand she went through a lot, but she literally blamed everyone else for her problems. She was vindictive and petty to other women. Basically, I could go on and on. There was no connection between her and Beck, so she spent the entire book trying to break up her ex's relationship. I hated her. So that pretty much sums up that book. Sorry, I'm not going to have so much details on the books here because I didn't really write everything down, and these are some books that I didn't love, so I'm not going to know all the details, but you could always go and watch our live show. I can't even remember which channel this one was on, but I fucking hated this book. I really hated it. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So the next one that I have is American Queen by Sierra Simone. I've heard a lot about this series. It's where it's the president and the vice president, and she's with both of them. And I just could not connect to this at all. I also listened to this on audiobook, and I just didn't buy into any of their connections. And I'm really picky when it comes to MMF. I really want there to be connections between all of the characters, and this did not have that at all. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to pull up my reviews. I probably should have prepped before doing this video, but I just wanted to get this filmed real quick because I'm so behind in filming my videos. But pretty much my complaint about this was it was just pure smut, no plot, no connection. It was doing a ton of flashbacks, and I just wasn't really connected to any of the characters. I basically said no chemistry between the characters, super bored throughout this book. It was way too insta-less. And I said I'm sick of books having a ton of spice with no content or character development. That's going to be a running theme probably through most of these worst books, is I am sick of authors just writing smut because that's what sells and that's what gets TikTok people talking, and it's more marketable and people want to get those smutty romances. I need something else besides the smut to drive the book. So I put she is pretty much a meh heroine. Didn't care about her. She's super naive and weak. She comes off super young the entire book. So she is literally supposed to be, she didn't mature at all, but she literally read like a 16-year-old the entire time. So I just couldn't connect to her. I basically gave this 2.5 stars. I gave 4 chilies, maybe 5, but I was checking out because there were so many sex scenes. and I didn't care. So basically, I stopped at that book. I didn't continue with the series. I tried to start the next one, and I was just like checked out, didn't care. So, okay, so then next one that I have is Cruel Paradise by J.T. Geisinger. Honestly, I think this might have been one of my 12 Recs from 12 Friends. I liked the first one, I believe, in this series. I think this is the second one. But I'd always heard about this hero in like the other books. And then when I got to this book, I just thought it was meh. Like, honestly, this is another case of me hating the heroine. Like, I didn't like the heroine. And I really liked the hero. Like, he was awesome, but this was also insta-lust. And he was so obsessed with her, and I didn't understand why. Like, if a guy is, like, obsessed and possessive and all about the woman, like, that woman better be freaking awesome. And this heroine was not. So, let me see what I can pull up on my review. So, I had basically written about this one was... I had heard it's Killian Black. So Killian Black, I've read J.T. Geisinger's later books, and he's always referenced. He's kind of like the spy, like badass character. So I was highly anticipating his book, and I just was kind of left with a lackluster feeling because I didn't like the heroine. So these are some of the issues I list. This felt like a copy of the first book. It was a lot of repetitiveness from like what happened in the first book. It had the obsessed hero who instantly falls for the heroine. But why did he want her? There's like nothing. There's no reasons why he want her. The heroine was written to be like sassy, but she just came off annoying. Like I'm very picky with my heroines. I admit it. I'm tougher on heroines than I am the men. But she was just so annoying. She refused to acknowledge her feelings for him like the entire book. And she was constantly pushing him away, even though he was fucking amazing. The banter was cringe. The way the heroine finally thinks she knows who he is, and then she's like pissed because she like made the wrong assumptions. She jumps to conclusions. I just fucking hated the heroine in this. So I really liked Killian, but the heroine tanked this book. So this was a 2.5 star. Okay, so the other one I have is Nightfall by Penelope Douglas. Now, I loved this whole series, but Will's book was just a big disappointment. It was so much flashbacks, some weird secret society type of thing. I honestly, like, I don't even really remember anything from it because it really felt pointless. And it's just a bummer because I loved the other three books in it. And and it was so long. If I'm looking it up on Goodreads right now, it says 752 pages. I don't know. Sometimes that's inaccurate, but it felt long. I listened to this on audiobook and it felt long. And I listened to it at a higher speed. So it was way too long. I didn't care about Will and this chick's romance. There was even a point like where I felt like Penelope Douglas was just trying to throw in sharing scenes to be like spicy. Like she was just throwing it in there and it didn't make any sense to the characters, to the plot. It was just, oh, we did a sharing scene before and Corrupt and it was so amazing. And now it's like she was trying to one up herself in each of the books and I just didn't buy into it. So, like, I put, it's way too long. I was bored 70% of the book. And I said, I like the flashbacks, but the current timeline was chaotic and annoying. The whole Black Church plot was just lame. I didn't care about any of the side characters. And this is kind of where I said, the CB scenes did not serve any purpose. And the train scene was just smut for smut's sake. I don't get their like obsession with group sex or threesomes in this series. Like I'm all about it. I'm fine with that. But like it literally added nothing to the story. It was just trying to throw smut in there to have a spicy book. And then I put the last 30% had way too much going on. I couldn't keep up with the random people trying to come after them. I honestly didn't care. I probably would have DNF'd this book, but I was determined to finish the series. So Nightfall was a huge disappointment, like probably one of the biggest disappointments out of this list because I had loved all the other books in that series. Okay, so then I have Hush Hush by Lucia Franco. And I felt really bad hating this. I thought I would love it. It'd been on my TBR forever. It was like an age gap. She's kind of like an escort. And she ends up hooking up with her best friend's dad, who is like one of her clients, that she's working this escort agency type of thing. And I just really had a hard time with this book because the heroine literally had a boyfriend the whole book. So she was cheating on her boyfriend, lying to him about being like an escort and having sex with other people. Like before they even got together, like he had been in a previous relationship where he was cheated on. And so he had let her know that's like his hard limit. And she still lied to him about being an escort and about having sex with other men. And that was just like so hard for me to get over. Like that is a fucked up thing. Like you should have been honest at the start before this guy, you and Ernest, like devoted relationship, a committed relationship. You should have told him what you were doing. It was just, she lied to everybody in this book. And so I really found this heroine pretty irredeemable. Like I didn't like her. You can see that if I don't like the heroine, the book is a fail. So I actually wrote a pretty long, ranting review about this. But then there's James, which is her friend's dad. So she meets him like on the job type of thing. But then later when she learns it's her friend's dad, she doesn't tell her friend. Her friend like let her set her up with this escort thing. So it's her friend knows what she's doing. But she literally lies to her friend about it. And her dad is married. And her friend's like stressing out about like her mom and dad or their relationship and they're fighting and she doesn't. And so it's like, and she's literally like involved with the father and she's letting the friend talk to her about this stuff and she doesn't say anything. It was just such a betrayal. Like she's lying to her boyfriend. She's lying to her friend. Like it's just horrible. Then James wants her to like quit being an escort and just be with him full time. And he told her he wanted her breaking up with her boyfriend. And so she like refused to even do that. And so she was lying to James. So I was infuriated with this heroine. So this was a 2.5 star. Honestly, talking about it again, me being nicer. I like Lucia Franco, so I didn't want to like rate it horribly. But it'd probably be a 1 star if I'm thinking about it. So in the future year, I'm going to be a little bit tougher if I'm pissed off about a book. So that one was a big fail for me. Okay, real quickly, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I had Black Sunshine by Karina Halley. This is her like vampire romance. I honestly just couldn't connect to this. I thought it was so boring. I thought it was like very just smut focused. I didn't think the world building was that great. Then like he has her have sex with his friend because I don't know. I can't even remember. I just didn't like it. I think I gave this one 2.5 stars. I was just really bored and I had heard so much hype and people loving this series and it was just very lacking to me. So I didn't enjoy it. Okay, so Out of Time by Beth Flynn really pissed me off because the first book, I think it was 9 Minutes, if that's what it's called. This was following like a girl that got kidnapped and she got kidnapped and taken by like the prez of this like MC and it's a big age gap, but she was like underage. So the first book was pretty crazy. There's a lot going on. That guy, she ends up marrying him. But she also has a really close relationship with another younger guy that's in the MC that's more around her age. And like the guy ends up being put to death or whatever. And the second book, like I can't even go into why I hated it so much because it revealed things, but like it made me infuriated because it basically churned everything that was supposed to be in the first book and like the cliffhanger on its head and made it pointless. And now we're trying to make it a love triangle, and I didn't appreciate it. And I looked at the reviews of the third book and I did not like what I saw with those spoiler reviews. So I decided I am not continuing that series. So I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. It felt like a filler book too, like nothing, I don't know. It was a lot of flashbacks going back throughout time, revealing things. I don't know. I have to be very vague because I don't want to give things away, but it was not good. So I gave that one 2.5 stars. Okay, and the last 2.5 stars I have to go over is another buddy read. Again, I was the only one that hated this. This was Undeniable by Daisy Jane, and I went in with the blurb about it being like your mom's ex-boyfriend, age gap, spicy, taboo. I was here for that. What I wasn't here for was emotional manipulation of basically killing off one of the main side characters that's really important to the story, but it was not needed. It didn't help the story. It was just kind of thrown in there at like the 70%, 80% mark, where like I was going to DNF it, but I'd already read 80%. So I finished it, but I was pissed. Like I was mad. That was not the story I was signing up for. And it really pissed me off. I felt like, it was an author trying to throw a traumatic event at you to make it an emotional book, when really it didn't help the story, and it made me like pissed off and not care about the characters anymore. So I gave that one 2.5 stars, and I think I was being pretty generous with it. The other people, my other buddy readers, they enjoyed it. So I was definitely in the minority of that, but like it pissed me off. I will give this author another chance though, because I think this is different than her usual ones, but I definitely did not appreciate that. Okay, and then to go on to the 2-star reads, I'm going to bring up another buddy read. So you can see our buddy reads aren't always a success. And we've had very differing opinions on some of these too, but I think we mostly agreed with this one. We were pretty pissed off about this book. And that was The Fabric of Our Souls by K.M. I can't remember her last name. Is it Moronova, sorry. And this one I was really upset about. It was like dealing with mental health and, bad kind of like cutting situations and very deep mental health issues and putting them into like institute. But then like, it was like dealing with it without like any care, any realistic like stuff about this, because they were like literally at this institute for people that have tried to kill themselves, have mental health issues, and they were let to like roam wild, and like they had like public sex in the bathrooms all together. And that is not how it works when you're at a facility like that. They just don't let you guys get involved romantically and screw in public and do whatever you want. Like, that's so unrealistic. It's not healthy. They even tell you, like, going to rehab or different types of things. Like, you shouldn't be getting in a relationship while you're going through this program and type of stuff like that. So there were so many issues with this. Plus, it was just over the top. I'm not going to go too far into it. Again, you can watch one of our live shows if you want to see our thoughts, but like, I definitely ranted there. I think I completely forgot to write my review on this too. So, oh well, but I definitely didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars. Okay, so then I had Pretty Little Savage by Lucy Smoke. I'm not going to go too deep into this. This was like a bully romance. The heroine was stupid. I was bored. I got it like, cause it was on Audible Plus, and like the bullying was just like crazy, like dumb. And the heroine she was crazy. Like, I didn't like her. I think there was a point where she attacked somebody with like a bat for like, it was like this overreaction. Like, she just like, I hate it when authors write like the badass heroine. I'm such a fucking badass. She comes off like a fucking idiot. You know, you have to toe the line on like the badass heroine. Sometimes they overwrite it, and I hate the heroine. So you just got to be really careful with those ones. Okay, so then I had another one, which was Hungry for Our Wolves, or Hungry for Wolves by Tara West. And this was like a reverse harem, white shoes, wolf, you know, shifter type of thing. And it was just all over the place. I thought like she didn't really introduce or make the guys individual and make them interesting. It didn't make a lot of sense. Like the heroine was like very naive, and it was just really like cringeworthy and not great. And then they were instantly like fucking, and I get like shifter, mate bond, all that type of stuff. But the heroine, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I think she was a virgin. And then they were like literally doing anal. Like, I'm like, so that drives me. That's one of my pet peeves in books is like if a chick is already going to doing butt stuff and she's barely had sex. That is fucking ridiculous. You got to work up to that, and it's not like an easy thing. And so that really pissed me off in this story. So just one of my pet peeves, one of my many pet peeves in romance. So I ended up giving that one 2 stars. And then I actually have this one because I bought this book. And that's Portrait of a Scotsman. I bought this because this was a 12 rec from 12 friends. And this was so ridiculous. It's a Scottish hero, which I love a Scottish hero. But I hated the heroine in this. Are you seeing a theme here? If a heroine is annoying, I hate the book mostly. And this was one of the most boring, drawn out, like nothing's happening historical romances. I wanted to DNF it at 50 pages because I was bored out of my mind and I didn't care about the characters. And I should have DNF'd it, but I pushed through because it was a 12 rec from 12 friends. I basically said this year for my 12 rec from 12 friends, if I don't like it, I ain't fucking reading it. I'm going to DNF it. I hated this book, and the heroine like was so annoying. They end up being kind of like caught in a compromising position, and she blames the hero, even though she was kind of trying to kiss him. And she ends up having to like go on this trip with him to, I believe it was to Scotland, and stay in like these mines that he's overseeing. And like they don't have sex till I think like it's got to be like 70% of the book. And it was so boring. And then we get there and it's basically a closed door sex scene. It was like a fade to black. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then there's a third act conflict that was like suspense element that I was like, okay, we resolved that. And then it was like a third act breakup that made no freaking sense. So if you could mind any of the other stuff, you might have enjoyed it. But like that third act is where I saw a lot of people's reviews of them being infuriated with this book because the third act breakup was stupid. So I really hated this. I am annoyed. I have a copy. I don't know what I'm going to do with this copy. I don't want to like give it to somebody a book that I hate. But anyways, hated this. Okay, so now we're on to my worst book of the year. This book made me rant. I reached out to Jen when she was reading it because I saw she had an arc because I needed to rant to somebody. I hated this book. And that's Seeds of Malice by Maggie Cole. I've only read a few of the Mafia Wars series by Maggie Cole, and I really enjoyed them. I still need to finish that series, and I haven't come back to it. Nothing unusual for me. But this was like a bully, kind of like new adult romance. It is not a romance. Takes bullying. It's not like a regular bully romance either. This guy's a psychopath. The way he treats this heroine, he's rich, billionaire, hero, and she comes and is like her dad's working for their family, and so she's living on their property, and he basically pulls the wool over her eyes and is like wooing her, and it's really only to fuck with her. Like him and his like friends, they basically like take an innocent person and manipulate them and fuck them over and ruin their lives as like a form of entertainment. And that's who this guy is. The entire book, he's doing stuff and manipulating her. But she's naive as fuck. Like, she's so stupid. She's one of the most stupid heroines I've ever read. It's obvious to everybody else. They're trying to warn her. Her dad's getting in a lot of issues with the family and this. He's like making her, like filming her do stuff. There's like a group sharing scene that he kind of like forces her into. It felt very icky. And like, then he has that on tape and can like manipulate her and fuck her over. It was disgusting. Like, I was so mad reading this book. I didn't want to finish it, but I did. It was an arc. I had to this is the first time I've read an arc where I hated it so much that I had to email the PR people and let them know, like, I'm going to have to wait to review this. Like, I don't even think I fully put a review or a rating on Goodreads because I didn't want to like, I think I did put a rating. I just basically put it, I think I did leave it as read and then didn't fully, I thought I wrote a full review here, but maybe I didn't because, I felt bad. But basically what I wrote on here was this book has made me rant more than I have in a long time. I actually like bullying. I enjoy non-con or dub-con when it is done right. This is not done right. I was angry and disgusted through the entire book. It does not even seem like the same author who wrote the Mafia Wars series. So like, I even had an arc thing come up for another Maggie Cole book recently. And I was like, not sure if I wanted to take it because this book was so fucking atrocious. Like, I was so mad. Since I got this is part 1, like a duet type of thing. I got the second part and I was like, I'm going to give it a try, see if it gets better. It doesn't. It gets worse. So I basically DNF'd that and I didn't even include it in my DNFs for the year because I didn't fully agree to pick it up. So this was honestly the worst book that I've ever read. It's like so bad. This guy is so horrible and the heroine is a doormat that lets him abuse her and manipulate her, and it's just disgusting. So it was definitely the worst book that I read this year, and I would never recommend it to you. Anyways, those are all the worst books that I had this year. Thank you for watching this. I know this was kind of like a negative and chaotic video because I didn't plan as well as I should have. But, some of these worst books, you don't really want to think about everything that happened in them. And so I didn't really do a lot of note taking on why I hated these books. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you read any of these and you hated them as much as me. Sorry if I hated a book that you loved. Again, books are subjective and like we all have different opinions. So don't be, too mad at me for hating a book if you loved it. It's going to happen. I hated Haunting Adeline and so many people love that book. Anyways, thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.